house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 21 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Josh Greenwell. Josh, thank you so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we appreciate it so much. And thank you again. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day like Josh, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alrighty, when we left off yesterday, Tommy had informed Nick that he cannot vote to keep him if he's still up on the block against Christy come Thursday. So Nick was a little bit heartbroken to hear this because he thought he and Tommy were it, you know? He thought that that was his dude, but no. So Nick and Tommy were trying to come up with a plan to get Jackson to use the veto. Not even on Nick, but on Christy. Because, you know, Tommy wants to try and save both of his homies. So Nick pitched to Jackson. If you want to hear that full pitch, well, not full pitch, but a good breakdown of that pitch, check out yesterday's spoiler, or just stick around because he's going to make a very similar pitch to Holly, and we're going to talk about it. So Jackson was like, yeah, I'm going to have to think about it. We'll see. No, Holly does not want the nominations to change, so it's not gonna happen. But anyway, yesterday morning, Nick made his pitch to Holly because he knows Holly's probably gonna have to be on board for Jackson to use the veto. So Nick is telling Holly the only way to really show loyalty is to do shit while people don't know what you're doing. So he says, I'm America's prankster. She already knew that. But he says he could have put up Jackson and he didn't. You know, he showed his loyalty without them even realizing it. So he says, I'm going to be a big threat if I stay. So, you know, people will come after me before they come after you. And next week, it's just going to be Jackson playing in the HOH for you guys. You cannot play. So if I go, who's going to protect you guys next week? So then Nick says if Jackson uses the veto on Christy, that would mean that I pick the replacement nominee, and you guys can tell me whoever you want me to pick. I'll put up whoever you want. He says I can put up literally anyone you want. Literally? Okay. I just don't understand, like, why this pitch would make any sense at all. Because if they were gonna keep Nick anyway, why would they not just use the veto on him and then Holly would pick the replacement nominee and not have to worry, like, is he gonna keep his end of the deal and put up who we want or whatever? Like, I guess in a way it could be like, oh, Nick put this person up, not me, so it would kind of save a jury vote. But at the same time, everyone would realize they were in cahoots, so it wouldn't even matter. So I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, Nick is saying I'll throw as many HOHs as you want, but if I do win, I'll never put you up. And if you're up on the block or Jackson's up on the block, I'll use the power veto on you if I win. And he says it doesn't make sense for them to take him out this week. He's not coming after them. And he says you should take out somebody who's really coming after both of you. So Holly's like, okay, do you know someone who's coming after both of us? Can you tell me some names? And Nick says, well, I know there's people that don't want showmances around at the end. And he says, there were 6 people in that deal that agreed to target you guys. Nick was in that deal, and Nick created the deal. He came up with the deal. So why would they go after somebody else and not him? So he also says that, yeah, Jess wasn't part of that deal, but she would target you. I think it's interesting that Jess is the only person that he named, and he didn't drop any other names. But anyway, Nick is saying that he didn't have a fair chance to stay this week. Wham! Because Tommy already promised his vote to Christy, and he feels like America voted for him to be the prankster this week because he didn't deserve everything that happened to him last week with Taco Tuesday and Christy blowing up his game. Everybody always talking about who deserves what on this show. It's a freaking game. Okay, blah 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 blah, same stuff that we've heard. Nick says this same deal is up for grabs if Jackson leaves the nominations the same, because obviously he's still going to try and get the votes if it's still him versus Christy on the block. So he says, you know, this offer is still on the table if you keep me over Christy. So Holly's like, okay, I'll talk to you. You know, I'll come to you if I want to hear more about this. AKA, she doesn't want to. I'll call you. Okay, so then Jackson and Holly touch base in the HOH room, and Jackson says that Christy came up to him and said that Nick told her all about him being America's prankster and all about his pitch to stay, which is true. He did tell her all of this because he's trying to secure her vote if Jackson decides to use the power veto, because if he doesn't get that vote from Christy, what's the point? No, he feels like he'll have other votes if he can get the veto used, but he would like to get as many votes as possible. So he was trying to be like, yo, I'm getting Jackson to use the veto on you. The least you could do is throw me a vote. But Christy wants Nick to go, so she does not want any of these plans happening. So Jackson is telling Holly, we should fill in Cliff and Nicole on all of this info. We can use this to gain more trust with them. Maybe it could also drive a wedge between Nick and Nicole. You know, we'll tell her how he's willing to put anybody else up on the block as a replacement. So maybe she'll be like concerned about that. But Holly's kind of worried that this could all get back to Nick via Nicole, because they are very close and they're not really sure where they stand with Nicole in comparison to Nick. They're not sure if they're above or below him. I would say below. Okay, so Jackson says he trusts Cliff and Nicole, and Holly says, I think I do too. They want to go to the Final Four with them because they don't think that Nicole would beat any of them, like anyone in that Final Four. I mean, she hasn't really done anything yet, but there's still time left. And they feel like even if Cliff beat them, they'd be thrilled for him. They wouldn't mind losing to him. I think it'd be a lot of fun if Cliff won. But anyway, they're saying they still want Nick to go this week, and their next targets are Jess and Christy. So it sounds like Jackson really wants Jess to be the next target. Because he feels like Jess would target him. She's said so many times that she's going after guys, and once Nick is gone, Jackson is gonna be like Mr. Alpha, I guess. So they also are worried that Jess might put Holly up next to Jackson, so he's saying that she should go next. Holly, I feel like, is kind of back and forth between if it should be Jess or Christy, but they're both really hoping that Christy would not put them up next week because of their deal. I don't know. Okay, so then Cliff joins Holly and Jackson in the HOH room, and they all confirm that they're still on board to go to the Final Four together. Cliff seems to really want to go to the end with them, but we know that Nicole is shaky about it. So they're telling Cliff all about Nick's pitch and that he's America's prankster, and Cliff is like, wow, if he was serious about, you know, making some sort of a plan with you guys, why did he wait until his back is against the wall to tell you about him being America's prankster and everything? Right? Okay, so they're also talking about how they think it's a little bit ridiculous that Nick keeps saying he didn't have a fair shot to stay this week. Hello! America voted to give him a power. He got to choose who sat next to him on the block, and he got to play in the power veto competition. So what's not fair about that? Thank you. Okay, Cliff says that he's ready to cut Nick loose, and Holly says that's the plan. Nothing has changed. That is still what they want to happen. So then Tommy talks to Holly and Jackson. They were taking a lot of meetings yesterday, and they let him know Nick is their target officially, and they tell Tommy he's getting really desperate with his pitches, saying that he would put up anybody that they want as their replacement nominee, and Tommy's like, oh well, I hope he wouldn't put me up. At this point, I feel like maybe if they did ask him to put Tommy up, he might, because Nick is pissed that Tommy has already promised his vote to Christy. He is not happy about that. So they realize at this point, everyone knows that Nick is the prankster, except for Jess. That's so BB21. Okay, so then Jackson confirms he's not using the veto, and Tommy confirms that he's voting to evict Nick. Okay. So Nicole talks to Holly and Jackson, and this was very similar to the conversation that they had with Cliff. They tell her about Nick being the prankster, which she already knew. They tell her all about Nick's pitch, which I think she already knew. And they talk about their Final Four with Cliff. So Nicole is like, yeah, I want to make it as far as I can, but she doesn't want to shake on that Final Four right now. She says she'll shake on it with them when she's not so emotional. I'd be a little nervous if somebody said that to me, but I almost feel like she's waiting to see if Nick could get the votes to stay this week, or maybe because of the twist, nobody's gonna go, and she wants to work with Nick. She wants Christy to go. She feels like she is much safer with Nick, so I think she's waiting on that. But she says, like, she's having a really hard time. It's really all very difficult for her every week, you know, no matter who's up on the block. She doesn't want to avoid the target, you know how a lot of people do that. So, yeah, she starts crying because she still wants to hang out with Nick this week, but she's worried that it's going to mess up her game, but she can't help it. You know, she wants to hang out with her friend. So Holly and Jackson are comforting her, and they're telling her, we trust you, you have such a good heart, you're an angel. So they're like, you know what, if you want to hang out with him, do that, it's fine. Like, we know we're cool with you. So Nicole says at the end of the week, she's still gonna cast a game decision vote. Will she? Because she keeps telling Nick that he has her vote. But I feel like she's gonna get out of it, because once Nick sees like he definitely doesn't have the votes, he's gonna tell Nicole not to vote for him, because he's said that in the past to people, and I would imagine he would do the same here. So then Jackson and Holly also talk to Christy, and Jackson lets her know he's not using the power veto on either nominee, but they're assuring her, you're gonna have the votes to stay, Nick is gonna be going, so just chill. Okay, later, Tommy, Holly, and Jess were chatting in the backyard. Oh my god. They were talking again, because Holly keeps bringing it up, about Holly's old buzzard zing. So apparently the diary room gave some of the other house guests a definition for buzzard, because they didn't really know like what a buzzard was. So they told them it's a bird that eats scraps and like sloppy seconds. So then Tommy was talking about how there's an extra layer to Holly's zing, because at first she thought that they were just calling her old, but now hearing this definition, Holly is not pleased, because Zingbot is basically calling her out for picking up Kat's scraps, aka Jackson. Ouch! Okay, so Tommy is telling her, don't worry, it could go over America's heads, because none of them even knew what it meant. But Holly is ranting, saying that this is making her want to self-evict because her entire character is being misconstrued to the entire world. You think the entire world is watching this? Not this season anyway. But Holly says she had open communication with Kat about this whole situation. She didn't just steal Jackson away. But BB probably didn't show that. They were always asking her about fights in the diary room, but not about how they worked this out. The three of them worked this out. So she was not happy. And the feeds kept flipping around as Holly ranted throughout the evening. She just kept bringing it up, and the feeds would either go to fishes or change cameras. Fishes? I feel like it's fish. I don't know why I just said fishes. But anyway, they were also discussing a lot throughout the night how they were all being fed lines that they didn't want to say in the diary room about each other's zings, and this is not the first we're hearing of this. Obviously, they've been feeding the house guests lines for years, but they've been talking about it a lot this season. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent. I miss the days when we would just get real reactions out of house guests in the diary room. Like, I get that they're trying to put together certain storylines and stuff, but I would much prefer real raw emotion in the DR than like witty one-liners that they didn't even come up with, you know? So anyway, of course the feeds would go to Fish whenever they say something like that. And that also reminds me, they were also talking about how they suspect that America did not vote for Nick to be the prankster this week. They think the producers picked Nick. Okay, so anyway, I could see Nick winning the vote though, because the casuals would give it to him, you know? Because they haven't seen on the show how creepy Nick really is. So anyway, later, Nick and Nicole were chatting on the hammock and they're talking about the votes this week, and Nick feels like there's no way he's gonna get Jess's vote. Look at their history. And he doesn't even know how to campaign to her. He's not gonna spend a lot of time talking to her about it. So Nick says that Tommy is making this shit so much harder for him this week. He really thought that he was going to be able to count on both Nicole and Tommy for votes, and then he would just have to get one more, and he was thinking it would be Cliff. So he says if his number one was on the block, he never would have made a deal like the one that Tommy is saying he made with Christy, because he's saying that he was scared going into the power veto competition because he didn't know who America's Prankster was. So he's claiming he made a deal with Christy that if she won the veto and didn't use it and just left herself up on the block, that he would not vote to evict her, because they didn't want to risk America's Prankster picking another nominee and like Tommy possibly going up on the block. I've said this before. I don't know if this was a real deal because I've never heard of it. I didn't see it anywhere, but I think he just pulled it out of his ass. But Nick seems to think that it's a real thing that was set up. He doesn't know that those two have known each other for many years. So anyway, I think that's a sign that you're not his number one. I don't think he would have done that if Christy was in Nick's position, right? So anyway, Nick says that he knows that he has Nicole's vote. He's hoping that he's gonna have Cliff's. And he says that he chose Christy to sit next to him on the block because at the beginning of the week, Cliff said that Christy is his target. So he thought, you know, he would get that vote. So he's saying if Jackson does not use the power of veto and he can't get Tommy's vote, he's gonna need to get Jackson's vote. And he feels like he can get it. I don't think so, cuz, but okay. So Nick is asking Nicole about Cliff's vote, and Nicole says, Cliff is kind of wavering right now. He's leaning more towards keeping Christy. And Nick is surprised to hear this. He's like, wait, what? He told me that Christy is his target. He's so stupid, bro. Yeah, he said that. So Nicole says, don't worry, there's still so much time left until the eviction, and I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to Cliff one-on-one yet and really talk about this, so we still have time. So then Nicole is saying it would make her day if this week is just like a prank and Nick gets to stay. Stop. Like, I see where Nicole's coming from, that she feels like Nick would be better for her game, but okay. So then Nick feels like if he can get Jackson's vote, which he feels like he can, he'll also have Holly because they're like a package deal. And then if they're on board, he'll be able to get Cliff. Those are a lot of ifs. So then Nick is going on and on about how it's stupid and it doesn't make sense for people to vote him out this week. Of course it's gonna feel that way to you. But Nick says he just has a feeling that he's gonna be staying this week. Even if he can't get the votes, he feels like because of prank week, maybe nobody's going home, I don't know, but he says he feels like he's staying. All right, so a few quick things. Jackson decided to clue Jess in, tell her Nick is the prankster, and he said, I'm not using the power veto. I don't want to risk Nick putting you up as the replacement nominee. Good one. Way to use that to your advantage. You knew he wasn't going to use the power veto anyway, but it's funny how he tried to frame that to Jess, and she was like, oh, thank you. Let's go through some highlights, aka pie highlights. So everyone is getting pied. Even the non-punished are getting in on the fun. Tommy got hit multiple times yesterday, even with a disgusting mayonnaise pie. That makes me want to throw up just thinking about it. And they got him while he was standing on that rug in the kitchen. Again, why is there a rug in the kitchen? Just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, there is mayonnaise and freaking whipped cream and pie crust all over that rug. Disgusting. Nick then got Tommy while he was in the shower. But it was really funny because he got him in the shower, but then Jackson snuck up behind Nick. So right as Nick was turning around to run away from the shower, Jackson got him right in the face. It was so funny. Oh my God. So this whole pie war thing was pretty hilarious, but the house is such a mess. And it makes me think of that Thomas the Tank Engine meme when the caption says, Thomas had never seen such a mess. Right? Okay, so Pop TV gave them some supplies to make nachos. They were hoping for booze, but you get what you get, right? And then Holly, Tommy, and Nick put together a little song and dance for the Snapchat glasses. So Holly has been working on writing this song for a long time now. So it was finally time to debut it. She was singing it, and then Nick and Tommy were like her backup dancers. So everyone was gathered in the living room for the performance, and it started out like, I can't remember the melody, but the lyrics were, welcome to our house, this is our family. Something, something, oh snap, we're on TV, or something like, oh. So she put in a little shout out for each house guest. It was a little bit cringy, but you know, what else are they gonna do all day? So the house guests all loved it. They loved it. But I think, I don't know, where does it rank as far as Big Brother original songs go? Let's just say it was not the real Tyler from last season or the Brothers song about the Pax Bros that Tim made up on Big Brother Canada. That's like one of my ultimate favorites. So anyway, this morning, Nick tried to campaign to Jackson and Holly again to get Jackson to use the veto, kind of a last-ditch effort here. And I mean, it was pretty much the same stuff that he's been saying. He'll do whatever they want. I've had your back. But he also added in, if I'm up on the block next to one of you guys next week and I win the veto, I'll use it on you instead of myself. That just sounds ridiculous. You know, after a certain point, it's like, I can't even believe the things that you're saying, so why even bother? But Jackson lets him know, I'm sorry, I can't use it. It's just not good for my game in the long run. If this was a few weeks ago, maybe, but we're getting down in numbers here, and I'm sorry. So Christy also checked in with them, and they tell her nothing has changed. The nominations are not changing. Nominations are not changing. You don't have anything to worry about right now. So the feeds go down for the power veto ceremony, and Jackson did not use the power veto, which means it's gonna be either Nick or Christy leaving or not on Thursday. So the mood is pretty chill for right now. We've still got 3 days left until the eviction. I have a feeling that Nick and Christy will both be turning up the campaigning. Well, especially Nick. I don't know if Christy's gonna try and lay low or what, but as of right now, Nick is going. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments, and until tomorrow, I swear to God, the camera cut off right before I said much love. So until tomorrow, much love.